Let's look at a real-life user research interview. Hello, softwarepreneurs, and welcome back to Swattage, the Software Innovation Lab. If you're new here, my name is Dale Richards. I'm a software innovator from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I love making software that changes the world. I'm building a SaaS product from concept to cash, and I'm taking you with me for the ride. If you want to change the world, build apps, grow your SaaS business, and make money doing cool software entrepreneur-related stuff, start now by subscribing and hitting the bell. It's been a while since we've really talked about our dental and trade school management app. If you are hearing about this for the first time, I suggest going back to the beginning of this playlist to watch our progress as we've taken this SaaS product from concept to cash. So we are in the user research phase, and I want to give you an update on what we've done so far. So basically, we come up with a concept at the beginning of the spring, and then during the spring and summer months, we did some user research interviews and some other data collection to figure out like what's the market size and those kinds of things. So then in July, what happened is that we said this might be a good opportunity for us to serve this segment of students that are coming out of technical colleges or trade schools. And so what I did is I contacted the local technical college, which is called MTECH, or the Mountainland Technical College. It's here in Lehi, Utah. I contacted them, and I was able to get some time on the phone with their VP of Academics, Holly Peterson, and also with one of their dental assistant program instructors, Chandra Christiansen. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you both of these interviews. This video is the interview with Holly Peterson. And then there's another video that you can also watch that's the interview with Chandra Christiansen. They're both about half an hour long. You can watch the entire video if you'd like. But we also are going to have some other videos where we kind of cut out some specific parts and talk about, okay, well, what did we learn? What are the takeaways? Here you go. This is the interview with Holly Peterson, VP of Academics from the Mountainland Technical College. I want to ask you some questions about the function within the MTECH system and at Mountainland in terms of how you currently go about placing your students in internships and in full-time permanent employment. So I'm kind of curious to know about the entire life cycle from start to finish. Like, what are the specific steps you have to take in order to fulfill that function and get your students, off to their new career?
So, not every program has an externship component, but we do have many that do, where students go out and work under the supervision of an instructor or a qualified employee at the hosting business. So some of the programs that do have them would be like dental, medical assistant. A lot of them are healthcare programs where they extern out in industry. Also, web programming and development, some of the technology programs have that as well. So every MTECH program has an employer advisory committee, and those we have about 575 people from industry on employer advisory committees.
Wow!
And so each program has its own committee, and those committees are often people that will take students on externs, or they're people that can recommend externship sites. We have a pool of sites, obviously, that we've used for years in every program, especially established programs. So that is where we start with setting up externships. We also have our faculty members who have a lot of contacts of people that they've used before for externships. So they are very instrumental in connecting students with opportunities for externship. However, with all that being said, the final responsibility for finding a facility and interviewing with the employer falls on the student. And the faculty give help with that if a student is struggling, especially if we have students who have difficulty securing a place, they get extra support from their faculty member. So we put the initial responsibility on the student. If a student just can't find a place to extern, then the faculty will give them extra support until they have a place. So we've never had a student who did not end up with an externship site. Every program that has an externship has a written plan for the objectives to be covered on the job, as well as written signed agreements with each employer that we update every year, and those are to provide for the safety and the protection of the student so that they're physically safe, but also so they don't just get assigned to useless jobs and not learn what they're supposed to learn for their program. So we update and sign agreements yearly, and employers are provided with a list of specific competencies that a student will need to check off while they're at their facility. So they agree to let them have useful experiences and not to just, for example, if you're a nurse assistant, to not just be assigned making beds or sweeping floors or something like that each day. It has to be useful competencies that they are checking off. So that kind of covers your first question.
Is the agreements that you sign with the employer, or with the externship employer, is that done on paper currently?
Well, they're handled electronically, but yes, they are signing a form and electronically sending it back to us, and we keep those on file.
Do you use a current online electronic signature tool like DocuSign for that, or how is that signature obtained?
We can. A lot of times, they will just sign them, scan them, and send them back to us. But yeah, we do have DocuSign, and that we could use if we need to.
Okay. All right.
And honestly, I'm not involved in that on a day-to-day basis, but I could probably look into that more to see how the program directors are doing that now. So that falls under the direction of each program director. So they're the ones who have the end responsibility for having those signed. And a lot of the programs that have externships have program coordinators. For example, the medical assistant programs, we have 14 sections of those going, and so there's one coordinator that either visits businesses or is in contact with them and gets those updated every year.
Wow. Okay.
And also checks on the students who are out at the sites to make sure that they're actually getting a useful experience while they're there.
Wow. All right.
Okay. So, and then the second question you said is what does MTECH do to place its students with full-time employment after graduation? You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of the students who fulfill an externship end up being hired by that employer. That's very often the case. And for those who are searching for work, MTECH has an on-site job board in our student study centers, but we also have an electronic job board on our website. And employers who are on the advisory committees often hire students as well. And that's honestly a reason for many of the employers to be interested in serving on the advisory in the first place, is that they need employees and they need good employees. So a lot of times by serving on the advisory committee, they have contact with our best students and can hire them. And so they hire students, and we also get local employers continually who call the college asking for students to contact as new hires, and that's a source for a lot of the jobs that we post on our physical and virtual job boards. Faculty members and counselors also provide resources for job searches. So a student, when they first come to us, the counselors can go through and do assessment tools. And in our testing center, we have assessment tools for, to decide what a good fit is for a student before they ever choose a program. And then we have other resources through counseling and through faculty members to find resources for job searches. And a lot of it is contacts that, we've grown over the years. For example, in the dental assisting program, they have contacts from employee advisors or just from being in the dental field themselves where we are able to find placements for students. So we also partner with Department of Workforce Services, and they have a person who regularly comes to our campuses, and they visit classrooms and go over all the resources that are available to help students. They have multiple classes to teach resume writing, interviewing skills, and things like that. But they also have other resources for students as far as financial support and help for those who are underprivileged, that they can help get them set up with resources in the community.
Is there, you mentioned some skills like resume writing and things like that. Do those skills include, like, do you teach the students also to complete, for example, a LinkedIn profile or any kind of online profile that helps them in their job search?
So every program has their own unique workplace relations course that goes as part of their program. And so, yes, a lot of the classes probably teach those tools as part of their workplace relations class.
Okay, all right, great.
Or course within the program. And so, yeah, we do encourage use of those kind of things. And some programs probably more focused on that than others. For example, your medical assisting or practical nursing programs are probably more likely to use those kind of resources than, say, a nurse assisting program is, where nurse assistants tend to be some of the lower skilled workers.
Right. Let's move on then to the next question. Is the next question is it about tracking? I don't recall.
So, yes, so how does MTECH track and measure the success of graduates?
Right.
So we have a process in place where students are contacted after they leave, and we obviously we have evaluations by students of the programs, and then after they leave, we reach out to them again and ask them if they got the skills that they need to be successful with their new employer, and get feedback from them about what they feel we might need to concentrate on. So we have an outreach program, and we have what's called a training outcome form it's electronic as part of our North Star system, but faculty members reach out with students regularly until they become employed. So the teacher has to periodically follow up on them. We have a reporting period for accreditation that sets deadlines for when they have to report final employment, and if they don't have employment by the end of that reporting period, they don't get counted as a placement for us. And so we continue to follow up on them even after that reporting period. But to get them to count for our accreditation, they have to meet. They have about 6 months. If you finish in May, they have to be reported by the end of November. So that's the window where we're working extremely hard to make sure everybody got placed in related employment. And so a teacher fills out the training outcome report online, and they have to fill in information about the employer, address, phone, contact information, and whether that placement is in the field that the student studied for or not. So our accreditation standards require that MTECH complete at least 60% of the students that enter the program, and that we place at least 70% of those completers in related employment.
Okay.
And that at least 70% of graduating students pass their industry certification if one's required, if there's a licensure to work in the area. You described reaching out to the student to follow up that they learned the skills that they needed, and you described the accreditation process. Is there any feedback that you're collecting from the employers themselves? Yes. So and there is. So once we have an employer on our list, once we know that employer exists, then we send them a follow-up. It's like a SurveyMonkey survey that they can do quickly online to rate the student and how they feel they were prepared to work in the industry. So MTECH tracks. I think your next question. I had one more thing on the last question, and that was just for the last reporting period, MTECH completed 87% of the students, and 87% were placed in related employment, and 98% passed their licensure exams. So we have pretty solid numbers. And then as far as tracking graduates, MTECH tracks graduates because the greatest indicator of the success or failure of the program is whether students are graduating and whether they are being placed in related employment. So in some licensed occupations, the state does mandate student success. For example, there's the ASIN demands nursing licensure for practical nurses, so they have to license. Nurse assistants have a certification they have to have from the state to be able to work. Apprentices have to license with the state as well. So in some cases, the state is mandating student success, and that's very important to us. But for all programs that are accredited by the Council on Occupational Education, which is our accrediting body, that's where student success is really mandated. We have to meet those criteria every year. And if we have a program that fails to meet those criteria, they become what's called a triggered program, and they're placed on a warning status, and they have to get their placement up. They basically have about a year to get their placement up, or we have to drop the program and no longer teach it. So in a way, it becomes kind of a self-selection of programs. And we've had this happen over the years where a program that we've had a long time becomes irrelevant, and it becomes difficult to complete and place students. And a lot of times that's an indicator that the program has to be updated or dropped. It's just not worth it anymore. For example, we dropped a lot of our business programs several years ago because everybody was already coming from high school with Word and Excel and all of those type of programs, and there was no longer really a demand for it.
Huh. Interesting. The accrediting body, is that a national accrediting body, or is that a state?
It is. It's a national accrediting body out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
So we go through accreditation about every 6 years, and every program has to continually meet the criteria for completion, placement, and licensure.
Right. Okay. Tell me about the response rate that you get from the employers. Do most employers fill out the SurveyMonkey survey?
We probably get in the neighborhood of 25-30% of those back.
Okay.
So it's not super high, but if we don't get anything back, we'll send them out multiple times. We'll send them out 3 times before we give up. So
right.
Yeah, we don't get it's not a huge response, but it's enough to give us a good idea of whether their employers are pleased with students or not.
How many questions are on that survey? Is it pretty long or is it short?
It's probably, I haven't looked at it for a long time. It's probably 10 questions.
Okay.
It's not really long because we try to make it as simple for the employer to respond as possible.
Right. Okay.
So that they will respond. Okay. So it's not. A lot of it is a select, rate on a scale, and not. We don't have them write volumes of written information because we want to make sure that they'll do it.
Right. What is the let's see. What was the next question that I asked you?
What are the pain points in placing or tracking students? So for us, really the greatest difficulty for placement is for students who struggle to master the material. Basically your students who struggle the most in class are our most difficult students to place. Some of them struggle with mental health issues such as autism or Asperger's, or may have social skills or poor social skills or poor interviewing skills. So those difficulties are always difficult and usually require some extra intervention by the faculty member to try to get them a placement. And that is one reason that the Council on Occupational Education doesn't require that we place 100% of students, because some students are going to be naturally more difficult to help place. But we have always been able to overcome the externship part of that. We've always been able to find an externship for every student. So that is one difficulty. One pain point is just placing students that are difficult. For us, with tracking students, the greatest pain point has always been that some students disappear. They move after graduation, their email, their phone changes, their contact information changes, and it's hard to track them down. So the faculty members are very aware of that, and as students exit the program, they're very careful to make sure they've got permanent information and that we're getting all the information we can before they leave us so that we can check with them. We're also pretty good at stalking people on social media if we have to try to get to track them down that way. And then we also are able to do a match with Department of Workforce Services. So some students were able to track down through that match and see where they're employed now.
So with that match, is it some kind of portal that the Department of Workforce Services makes available to you to look up someone by their social security number, or how does that work?
Right. So our student services people have the ability to go in there and match social security numbers and see if any of them have had employment reported to Department of Workforce Services. So we're able to get quite a few people matched through that.
Wow. It's like an entire operation, like a sting operation.
It is. It becomes like, so sometimes the instructional program directors, they practically, I always tease them that if you can't find them, then you're going to have to go knock on their mom's door or something. But we never get to that. But we do work really hard because those are our numbers that are posted publicly. We work really hard to track people down and make sure we know if they got employed.
So for you, it's absolutely critical that you can track all of your students, or as many students as possible. You don't want them to just disappear because they count toward your accreditation numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And those numbers they're like our report card.
Right.
And so if those numbers are poor, that's a poor reflection on the college. And it's not that everything is about accreditation, but we have to have some way to measure whether our programs are successful, and that is a great way to do it.
I see.
So,
okay.
Because our mission is to get people employed. Our mission is to give people skills and get them employed. So if we can't get them employed in related employment, then we're failing at our mission. So
okay.
It's critical for us. So, and then you asked if pain points exist, what solutions have we tried? We have tried, faculty members try everything they can. They've asked for contacts on social media, although we have some very strict rules about what the involvement of faculty members on social media is. They still can ask for social media contacts and for permanent area contacts because some of our students may not have an email or may not be willing to give their mobile phone for a text, but they may be willing to give their Instagram contact. So we get what contacts we can from them. We try to get permanent area contacts where we can at least reach a mom, dad, sister, somebody to get a hold of them. And then once the faculty has done everything they can do to contact the student, like I said, we have program directors and program assistants who will look through any other means. We'll try to find them on social media or some other way to locate them. So it's a very time-consuming process when it gets to that point. Most students aren't that hard to track. It's usually a handful. It may be, 2 students in a program that we really have to hunt down and try to locate them. And sometimes we just can't, and then we have to count them as not being placed.
So it sounds like the real pain point there is that tracking students after graduation is time-consuming.
Yeah.
Let me ask you some rapid fire.
I think that's why universities in general haven't done it in the past.
Right.
Because, that's a lot of people to try to stalk.
To try to track, right.
Try to get information on.
Let me ask you some rapid fire yes or no questions. Tell me if you agree with these or disagree. Recruiting employers is time-consuming. Yes or no?
At the first, it's time-consuming. And in popular fields, they will come to us.
Okay.
If they're in a high-demand field, they will usually come to us, either looking for employers or employees, and then we'll ask them to serve on our advisory if we can, or they'll come to us and offer to be an advisory member because they want to be able to have a contact with the students.
Okay, next one. Getting feedback from employers is time consuming. Yes, no?
Not so much, because when we send out, we just send out to the place, we send out an email to the places that we have listed. Sometimes it might take a little while for program assistants to go through and get an email for the business, because we send everything out electronically. But yeah, that is not terrible.
Okay.
The hardest part is getting the information from the student to know where they're employed.
So you already kind of spoke to this one, but employers have low response rate. You said it's about 25-30%-ish.
Yeah, and honestly, that number's off the top of my head. I would have to get with directors and see what it's like right now.
Okay.
The last time I looked at that response rate was in 2018 when we went through accreditation.
All right. Entering survey data into some kind of crunchable digital format is time consuming. It sounds like that's not really a problem for you because it's all on SurveyMonkey. Like, how much?
It's all in SurveyMonkey, so we just pull the reports from SurveyMonkey that are all already compiled.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I'll let you go. Thank you very much, Holly. Great to talk to you, and thank you so much for clarifying so many things about your needs and your pains and where you need to go from here. Have a great day.
Okay. You have a great day, too. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Holy cow. It's like way... Oh, man. I feel like the canvas is off. Yeah. At least we know what the real pain point is. Tracking students after graduation. And then reporting for accreditation. That is the main pain point for a technical college. And it's not like it's for the entire college. It's just program by program. So, fascinating. Whew, man, we got a lot of work to do. What next? Let's see if we can follow this path a little bit farther. Let's see if we can get some more interviews with other people at MTECH and kind of get their perspective. And let's not rush this. Let's figure out exactly from multiple viewpoints what the real pains and gains are and go from there. All right, talk to you soon.